Greetings, Nia Akoma. You know, we talk about in the Akoma House Initiative that we're initiating unity through love, and that all success is the result of successful relationships. And I wanted to share a thought that I've been dealing with for the last several years around the relationships within our community, specifically within our conscious community. There is a relationship or an exchange that has been concerning me for the last 25 years of my 40 plus years in the conscious community, or the culturally conscious community. And that is the relationship or the lack of bridging between this scientific historical community and the historical spiritual, the spiritual and cultural community. And so what I mean, for those who may or may not understand, is that within our community, there is a group of people that are academics. They are PhDs, they are master's degrees and other degrees, and they are African centered in their position, but they have a tendency to lean toward the stylings of the white oppressive system in terms of the way they view our cultural position, our historical position. And so they're very scientific or linear, and they qualify and quantify thought and reality by data, or the existence of proof in the scientific method and other theories that they operate in. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have this cultural spiritual group that are into the energy work, or the very, what is often called, mystical arts. And they are really focused on spiritual concepts of classical African culture and cultural traditions, rituals, other things as such, that produce a centering, a knowing, and an internal empowerment from the position of practice. Now, what a lot of people don't recognize is that these two groups oftentimes have a fissure between them. They don't respect each other in the sense that there is an active cojoining of initiatives or forces, right? So they may say they respect each other in concept, but you don't see the academic intellectual community as much bonding, doing projects with this spiritual cultural community as much. Yes, there are exceptions. Yes, there are individuals. Yes, there are instances, but most of the conferences are either or. Most of the standouts are either or. You have people like Sheikh Anta Diop, Theophile Obenga, and that line of the Dr. Benz, John Henrik Clarks, etc. And then you have Shechem, Infudishi, Baba Haru, these type of people. You know, I was very close with Khalid Abdul Muhammad, and we used to talk about this dynamic because he found himself in two worlds, where he was the premier student of a spiritual teaching that frankly is now quite disrespected in some of these communities, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And his primary teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But also, he was a doctoral educated man, right? And so this dynamic we talked about, and I see it. I recently talked to Baba Haru about it, where we're looking at our community as either or. And as Nawasha always says, we can be both and. And in fact, when we look at our glorious African, Nubian, Kushite, Kemetic ancestors, especially in Kemet, we see the highest height of the scientific historical record, and we see the highest height of the very spiritual energy of expression and culture, cultural rituals, what would be called mysticism. And it's funny because even in the study of Kemet, I see that people take on this predisposition. So if you're this like very clinical, research-driven, evidence-based intellect, whether you are a formal academic or not, you take one approach. If you're a spiritual, mystical, cultural inclination or affinity, you take that approach. And your studies and your research and the information that you produce and share to the group is colored by that perspective. And I get it. Everybody does that. But what my goal and my desire is to see us as a community bridge a gap, because being straddling both of those communities and having an advanced degree, but also believing very strongly in things that are now labeled mysticism, the healing arts of the spirit and the unseen, that which cannot be measured through theorems or scientific method, that is just a code for white people's validation, right? There needs to be a bridge between these two communities. And so I'm calling to all leaders that are in these communities to reach out and to establish more open-mindedness to each other, because neither one is false, neither one is superior, and we need both to change the condition of our current reality. And so that's my will, that is my desire for our beautifully splintered and scattered conscious community, for us to initiate unity through love. So that's my thought. Let me hear yours.